All right, we are live, and the New York Mets once again ruined yet another holiday. All the dads out there, hope you guys are still licking your wounds. Hope you had a nice morning, maybe a little breakfast in bed, maybe a blowjob. I mean, whatever it might have been. Hope you enjoyed it because you knew at 1:40, Cookie Carrasco was going to take the mound and ruin your day. The Mets would then make that day a little better with a comeback that would ultimately fall short. I think we were all in that boat. I think we all called the game yesterday. Are we all like, I was at the game with Kev. Pham says he was watching with his family, and we're basically all in the mode where we're just like, yep, just waiting for the other shoe to drop, then go directly into our asshole and punt us to the moon.
I made the video before the game even started. I was like, don't let the Mets ruin your dad's day. Like, just avoid the television at all costs. I missed the first couple of innings. I pull out my phone and I go, yep, that's on brand. That's exactly the Mets that we've seen this whole season.
Yep. How are we doing, Philip?
Well, on Saturday, I tweeted out when we're down 5-0 and Mark Vientos is up for his first at bat. At least there's progress. Mark Vientos was sent down, but by the time a 9-hitter came up, we were down 5-2. So I was close enough.
Yep. I think when Pham got up yesterday, we were down like 2-0 or whatever, and I'm like, this game already feels like it's over. And obviously it wasn't, but it is one of those things where we can just never get it going. It's been that way all goddamn season, and it's not stopping anytime soon. And listen, we're going to be doing this podcast twice a week for the rest of the season, no matter what. Our good friends at Coors Light are going to help us out. We got some Barstool Sportsbook, all that kind of stuff. It's going to probably just be a lot of just figuring out why the hell the starting pitching stinks. So there's going to be some stats in here that is going to talk about the starting pitching, why it sucks, and that's kind of the root of the problem. By no means alone in the matter, but we're kind of getting our would you rather have a bad offense, bullpen, and now starting pitching. Can we just agree, not even halfway through the season, bad starting pitching is the worst of the three, considering we've had plenty of experience with the other two, right?
Yep. It's not even close. They're so depleted in the bullpen. Even if you could potentially have somebody who ends up being a good reliever, he's shot already. He's already shot in the foot.
Yep.
I mean, the bullpen gave a quality start yesterday. 6 innings, 2 runs. I mean, I'll give them that.
Wow. The 2023 New York Mets are going to start a new stat that will be tracked in Fangraphs, baseball, all your different things. And it's been called a quality relief. Can they go 6 innings and allow less than 3 earned? Because that's what you need from your fucking bullpen now. The starters are legitimately just the starters. They start the game, maybe get you 2, if you're lucky 3 innings, and then we go from there. Wow, I didn't even realize that too. That was fucking, horrendous. Okay, so the Mets lose to one of the worst teams in the National League. Dumb idiot spin zone Clem. I'm going to try to spin zone this only a little bit because I don't think they deserve much more of my brain power. The Cardinals are not as bad as their record states. Is that fair to say? Because their run differential at least isn't complete shit. They're just really bad in one-run games.
I mean, you could say that, but they're also just really, really bad. Like,
really
that
bad.
team hates each other. They can't wait to all get traded, and that's – then they took 2 out of 3 versus us after just not winning a bunch of games all month, so –
Maybe we just got like an up close and personal look of some players that we could go try to get at the trade deadline. That's my spin zone. Hey, that guy had a good weekend. Maybe he would be good on the Mets. Probably not, but potentially so.
Yep. An absolute disaster. But despite all that, and I know I would imagine I'm not alone. Friday night hits, Mets go out, get a W, and we feel good. We're like, well, we just took that game against the Yankees by some miracle, scored 6 runs on Friday night, and I'm like, all right. Here it is, the 2022 Mets. They're still basically the same fucking team here in 2023. Maybe we start getting some wins. McNeil goes out, looks pretty good. The offense does what they do, and we're fucking rocking and rolling. That game feels like a month ago now, and it was 3 days ago, whatever you want to say, 72 hours, whatever it may be. It's just the worst, dude. So Saturday we go to who was the starter on Saturday? Senga. I mean, if Citi Field Sanga's not going to show up, we're fucked. And the ghost wasn't forking, right? We knew the ghost wasn't forking right off the bat, and they were kind of just chasing it. He was bouncing the fuck out of the ball. Alvarez saved. How many runs did Alvarez save, Phil?
The first inning I penciled in 3. But, I mean, realistically, was that a bad start from Senga? Yeah, but if his bad starts are, like, close to 7 innings, 4 runs, you'll take that. Cookie's bad starts are, like, 3 innings, 6 runs, and Max's bad starts are nowhere even close to that. So
that's the thing. Like he has a bad inning or 2 basically, and it's like his day is shot because you know they're not really going to try to come back. You already feel like you're playing from behind when it's 0-0. And then he goes 6 2/3, and it's like, can you really then blame him? Because like they had the entire game to score 4 they
didn't have Lindor because Buck wouldn't let him play on like no sleep. You didn't have Pete, even though Pete miraculously came back yesterday and went 0-4. But yeah.
Yep. And Senga, I'm looking at his numbers here: 6-4, 3.5 ERA, 1.3 WHIP. He does this in a rotation that was pitching like they were last year. You're like, all right, like let's get this guy's feet wet. And, over the next few years, hopefully he gets better. Granted, he is like 30, 31, whatever, but it's a completely new game in the States. At this point, though, it's like, dude, we need you to be the ace. We need everyone to basically be the ace right now because we have a giant hole to dig ourselves out of. And you have to be part of the, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Stop being a fucking part of the problem, as my guy John McClain says, much better than I just said, because that's completely the wrong line. Nonetheless, though, Senga wasn't even the pitcher that I was mad at. It was just watching that motherfucking dickhead, Adam Wainwright, pulling out junky curveballs on us and just making his way. When they said that's the first time he's made it through 6 innings this year, I thought, how am I going to end it all right now?
And you know what's going to happen? He's sitting on 198 wins. We played him again late August. I'll probably be sitting on 199 wins because he's not going to beat many other teams. Yep. And he'll probably get number 200 versus us and just have a celebration.
So he needs what? How many? He needs 2 more wins?
2 more wins. I'll probably win one versus some shitty team that just gets forgotten about, and he'll be sitting on that for 2 months.
He'll beat the Cubs.
Yeah.
Go on the injured list. Come back like a week before us. Get like a warm-up start. Then we're writing the script for you guys. We've already seen the MLB script. We're telling you how it goes. That's exactly how it's going to go. By the way, SNY, love you guys. I appreciate them not showing the replay. We don't need to bring up 2000. We know Adam Wainwright. We know everything about him. Don't even just talk about it right now. That's kind of like when you're showing the Yankee highlights. Like, we don't need to see that. We all have been there for it. Even Phil was even like the young kids that weren't even alive for it. They've heard their parents be like, this motherfucker Adam Wainwright and that goddamn
2006 is a little too recent where like everyone feels that. It's not like 99 like Kenny Rogers ball 4. Sorry, Clem, but like you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's like you're doing that when the Mets are like rolling like they are last year. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm happy this guy's out of our life. When we're in the middle of just an absolute shit streak where everything feels like it's going wrong, we really didn't need that at the time. So the one good thing about it, though, is Adam Wainwright's going to retire after this season. So everyone, thinks about the day they'll eventually get to retire and enjoy all the freedom that comes with it. The freedom for us will be Adam Wainwright no longer being our life. But who says we have to wait decades before we can kick back, relax, and chill out? So take advantage of that free will and spend the summer chilling like a retiree and pair those moments with Coors Light, the beer that's made to chill. It's the beer that's made to chill, pairs well with a retired state of mind. I mean, that's like the consulitis state of mind is being retired. I think a lot of people are there already. I was getting some tweets over the weekend. Looks like we have some more going to Consolina. Enjoy the freedom. That's all I can say to you guys. Enjoy the freedom. Your mind is now blue as the Rocky Mountains, just like when those beers are cold enough to ready go in, pop it open, and drink it down. So it's perfect for all your summer plans or lack thereof. No judgment here. You want to, get into the retired state of mind. You want to go to Consolina. Nothing but love from the 3 young gents on this pod. Kevin is not in this week. He's with the kids right now. We'll get him on the next episode. I'm sure he has plenty of thoughts about this weekend. So this summer, chill like you're retired with Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/believe. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, let's get under the hood here. I said everyone try to bring at least like a stat about this year's starting pitching to just let us know how bad it's all been. So, Phil, you were first up with this. I've sent it to you, basically.
You want to pull up the One Shiny Mets tweet and just go off that?
Yeah, let's go off that. Let me pull it up here on the YouTube so people can see it as well. One Shining Mets always has. One Shining Mets, he's the one who graced us with that wonderful tournament back in the day, the Mets Misery Tournament. And now his Mets Misery stats are basically the next best thing here. So let me see if I can present it here on the screen. Yeah, I can do it. When scoring, should we start at 4 or 7?
Let's start from the top.
Let's start from the top. Okay. When scoring 7 runs, the 2022 Mets were 44-2. 7 runs, 44-2. That seems about right? You score 7 runs. The 2023 Mets are 10-6 when they score 7 runs.
And I believe those 6 are in a row.
Yeah, team
Gross.
Team Thirst Trap tweeted that out. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
10-6, 6 in a row.
So they're 0-6 in their last 6 games when they score 7 runs. Awesome. When scoring 6 runs, the 2022 Mets were 55-4. 2023 Mets 12-10. When scoring 5 runs, the 2022 Mets 76-5. The 2023 Mets 22-13. And then 4 runs, which used to be the magic number. When the Mets score 4 runs, they are unstoppable. They're the best baseball team of all time. Yada yada. 2022 Mets 87-8. 2023 Mets 26-17. When you look at those two Mets teams, do you honestly feel like we had like a expansion draft where we just like completely shifted teams? It's like 90% the same goddamn group of assholes.
I mean, to 12-10 and scoring 6, you should be winning like 80% of your games, not like a little over 500.
It's
like,
a stupid probability chart where it's like, oh yeah, 99% chance of win, and then it drops off a cliff over and over again.
Yep. So I don't know what to do with these numbers. Oh, and here's another set of numbers. I think I found this on Reddit. Before yesterday's game, the Mets were on pace for a 4.4 FWAR as a staff. The Mets as a franchise have had lower full season totals than that twice, 1963 and 66. Yes, this team staff is on pace to be worse in accounting stat than the 1962 team, which lost 120 games, the 2020 team, which played 60 games, and the 1981 Mets, who were terrible and lost a chunk of the season to the strike. Also, the offense has been shut out 8 times already, so sometimes the pitching shows up and the bat shit the bed instead.
But it's like most of those shutouts, some of them are like 8-0, 7-0 to where like they don't even have a chance anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's an absolute nightmare, and there's no help. There's not even a guy who you're like, all right, Jake's going to come out today, and that's going to be the day where the offense puts up 1 run. That used to be the case sometimes. You know, we'd have our little bumps in the.
You can even go back to like the bad teams. Like we had 2013, we had Harvey Day. That team was awful. We had Colin Cowgill in left field, but God, thank you. Matt Harvey's pitching every 5th day.
We don't have
2012. R.A. Dickey won Cy Young.
We don't have a single person that's like, that guy's going to stop the bleeding. Not one, because you don't know what you're going to get game to game to game. And this weekend, this series was like the perfect example, the perfect snapshot of like, this isn't the 2022 team. This is more like the 2021 team, because Tommy Pham is the guy that's scoring, driving in all the runs and hitting 250 and OPS over 800. And like, that's a guy who literally nobody wanted on the team in spring training and probably shouldn't have gotten as many starts up until this point as he's gotten. It's absurd.
That's
the other guy that's batting fucking 4th in the line.
Everyone's like mad at Buck, play the kids. Since I want to say May 17th, I'll pull up the stats right now. This is when the heroic game versus the Rays. I'm going by OPS. Our best hitters are Tommy Pham, 997 OPS. Francisco Alvarez, he's a kid. He's playing great, 885. Pete, obviously, 874. Mark Canha at 4th with an 848 OPS. Tommy Pham and Mark Canha are like 2 of your top 4 hitters. These are guys that you were supposed to lose at bats a month ago, and they're the ones carrying the offense. Where's Brett Beatty? Brett Beatty's been up since like April, and I'm not going to call him a bust, but like he's not even playing that great.
He's benefiting from the fact that everybody was praising Alvarez and bitching about Vientos, and he's just the middleman that's floating around, and it's like, oh, I guess he's okay because Escobar sucked before that, so we're not going to have to complain. But he hasn't performed to the level that they thought he was going to.
But can he be can he be a league average player? I'm not even asking for much of there. Like,
yeah. Sometimes you see his numbers and you're like, these feel like the numbers Escobar had when everyone wanted him to get fucking, walk the plank or shit and shit like that. But I understand it's like you got to play the kids, get better, but the kids need to perform. And that's, Vientos didn't do that. Granted, he never really had the chance and he just gets sent down. Now, I think part of that is Pham, who's the right-handed bench off the.
Who would you rather have right now in the lineup? Tommy Pham or Mark Vientos or Mark Canha or Mark Vientos? Like,
I'd rather have Tommy Pham over like 99% of our offense. Like Francisco Alvarez is the only guy who I feel better than when he's at the plate, and it's just because we all have we're head over heels in love with him. I've seen him mashing for years now. Tommy Pham gets a lot of hate, and I'm not sure why. He punched Jock Peterson in the face. Jock Peterson stole Edwin Diaz's song a week after coming in to Citi Field. Tommy Pham is like my favorite fucking Met at this point. Like, what are we talking about here? It's crazy. I don't understand the hate for it. And listen, anyone that's been in a fantasy football league, you've at least thought about it, punching someone in the face nearly. I'm not saying you've done it, but I can't fault the guy for doing it. So I don't understand the Pham hate. I never really have. Maybe it's because his name is spelled different. I don't know. I just don't get it at all.
I mean, he capped off the home run yesterday. They scored 7 runs in 5 innings and never took the lead once in those 5 innings.
It was amazing. It was honestly the perfect Mets game. And when I said it to Kev, I said when the Mets they were losing, then they had to come back and it fell short. I go, if you thought that was bad, wait till you see what they do, at the end of the game. And sure enough, you get the rally started, and they either you tie it, but you can never take the lead, and then you just lose it. At the end, I'm not. We don't have any. We're not going to go crazy about Robertson in the 8th and Ottavino in the 9th.
No, because Robertson almost gave up a home run in the 8th to Tommy Edman. Like
they were the shit off of him too, right?
That's what I mean. Like, I'm not going to be that into it. Like, it was like we said as a whole. The bullpen went 6 innings, 2 runs. They gave us a quality start as a collective unit.
I think the one thing I would have like the knock against it though is that at that point in the game, and you're playing the Cardinals, who on paper are worse than us, even though frankly they were not. You're playing for at least the tie, because if you get into extras, you got the man for man on second, and we have the advantage there. So it's like, dude comes out and throws 8 pitches, put him out there for the 9th. Let's see if we can walk it off. And if we can't, then we go to extras. Then you use Ottavino. Like, that's the only time where, it's not like he's throwing today anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point too. It is what it is. It all comes down to the starters. Scherzer, Verlander, they're the first 2 up against the Astros here, right?
Correct.
Which the Astros have not been the Astros. I sound like Mike Francesa saying
but
that.
they had the best staff ERA in all of baseball.
Yeah.
We're going to face Hunter Brown, Framber Valdez, Christian Javier. The Astros' main issue this year has been their bullpen. So
they're still going to be in the playoffs come.
Oh, yeah, let's be real with that. I wouldn't be shocked to win the World Series.
Yeah.
It's not even about winning the game. I'm just happy as a fan watching the games. I don't have to see Jordan Alvarez on my screen because he just scares the shit out of me. Even if he went 0 for 4 every single game over the next 3, I would just be in, petrified mode the entire time. I'd rather take knowing he's going to have 0 for 4. I just would be shitting a brick the entire time. I'm just happy he's not in my life this week.
But you still have to deal with Kyle Tucker, Jose Altuve, Jose Abreu, who's having a good month apparently, Alex Bregman, Jeremy Pena, who's slow, but.
And it feels like every time that the Astros come in and they take a guy, Verlander was already a Hall of Famer before he went there. But, I feel like they always have the book on these guys when they come back. And they're like, oh, no, this is how you can take down the machine. We know all the parts of it. So I'm not going to hold my breath for the Verlander stuff. Should probably talk about that because we do have something on Tuesday coming up. But we're gonna move on here.
Speaking of which, this Tuesday.
with the pitching, am I being unreasonable? And I know in 2023, this is going to offend some people. They'll be grabbing their pearls or whatever the fuck you grab in 2023. I think I just need somebody fired at this point. I just need blood. That's what the baseball fans need, blood at some point. And when you have this payroll with this team, regardless of it being, the worst case scenario you all knew was possible with 2 old pitchers as your aces and guys who seem to perform better than they should have last year, I think I need someone who's in the pitching part of the org chart to lose their job. I'm not saying it has to be Hefner, but
or a massage therapist. I don't care.
Yeah, just tell me why there is a difference than last year. Because last year it was every button you pressed worked, and now every button you pressed blows up a different part of the fucking ship. It's crazy. It's the polar opposite of last year, and it just doesn't make a lick of sense. So I don't know what Stevie or Buck or whatever can do. I don't think, again, I still don't think firing Buck at this point is going to do anything for you. But I need to see a head roll. I just need to see. Even if it's just on my Twitter feed, I see the Mets have let go of. You can even make up the guy. It could be a fucking Donnie Stevenson. They let go of Ronnie Stevenson, the pitching coach. And it's like, oh, good, we got rid of him. And then maybe we start pitching. I don't know what it is, but something has to be done.
I think Hefner makes the most sense because he's also the last holdover from the old regime. He's the only coach that's still on the staff that was on Rojas' staff. So it's like, you know what? At least just give us some good vibes. Bring back the Vulture. Bring back the 85-year-old.
Is he alive?
He was suing the Mets for ageism because of but not under Cohen because they let him go after that. But he was suing the Wilpons for ageism because he was like, the only reason they fired me is because I'm old as shit. I'm older than the game at this point. So they need to do something. And we lost our bullpen coach last year too. Mm-hmm. That crazy-eyed,
the big man.
Yeah, what's his name?
I
just remember the pictures.
Yeah.
But it's got to be something. Eric Chavez is lucky as hell that he moved from hitting coach to bench coach because
What does
whoever the new
he
guy
even
is,
do besides just pick up the bullpen phone for a replay and say, do we challenge it or not?
I have to think like, yeah, everyone's saying like, oh, you're still you're still with the club, so you still have like a voice in the clubhouse for like hitting approach, but I don't know. It sure as shit seems like everybody's regressed, and like going off of that point, I think it's time Lindor just hits righty. I don't know what you guys feel about that, and it's like I hate that that's like the hair trigger response. Dude's hitting like 245, 250 righty and sub 200 lefty. What are we doing?
I didn't realize his splits were that bad.
They're awful.
I'm pretty sure we talked about this, and I think it was who was it? Was it Robbie Alomar? We've had this discussion before, and it wasn't Beltran, unless there was a stretch where Beltran had like he struggled from one side of the plate. The only thing is, last year he was 271 from the right side and 269. So
he's been consistent his whole career. It's just this year it's a thing. Like
and this year it's a very much a thing. 250 and then 197. So it's very
also
much
his wife was pregnant for like 2 or 3 months, but she's been pregnant for the last 9. But like he's been playing with a pregnant wife for 3 months, so you don't know how that affected him.
So there was
his contact. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
there was my spin zone, Philip. Anyone that has had a wife that is in the last trimester, that's when it gets tough, because that's when she stops sleeping, which means that's when you stop sleeping, and you already have the first one in the house, so you're dealing with all the stuff that comes with all the joys of being a father of a little one. Happy Father's Day, Francisco Lindor, belated. He's going through some shit right now, and hopefully, I'm hoping now, wifey Lindor, whatever kind of nanny situation they have there, I hope we can kind of like, because now she's done with the baby, you have to kind of, she's resting up, hopefully getting better by the day. Now we just get our beloved Francisco back. Hey, take a little road trip, right? That's never a bad thing. The whole reason I wanted to go to Chicago in the dozen was just to get a nice couple nights of sleep away from the kids. Hopefully that's what our boy Francisco is getting, even if it means he has to face like the teeth of the goddamn Astros rotation. So maybe that's it. Again, I'm trying to spin zone anything out. My original segment for today was, how would you guys like to get killed to stop having to watch this Mets game? Because my thought was getting eaten by a shark. I think getting eaten by a shark is about equal to watching this Mets team on a daily basis. Do you guys have any thoughts? Phil is usually hanging from the ceiling fan. That's usually his daily.
Maybe die in my sleep. I don't know.
Dying in the sleep is the dream. We know that's
you're peaceful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the absolute dream. Kyle, I feel like to maybe choke on a kernel in the movie theater or something like that while eating some popcorn.
Yes, I will die doing what I love. Yes, I'll take that one. Because at least going into that one, I only have to waste 2 hours of my day and I don't have to worry about it afterwards and just move on to the next thing. This one is day after day after day. And it's not a single hope in sight. And I'm getting very close to the C word at a very early time. And it's very shocking for me because I'm usually the one who's the most positive and like, I am full ready to hit the eject button on this team.
It is funny. Sometimes I just think about last season and all the different, the post-game shows we had, but not even that. It was like the World Series walks, right? And it was we had Kyle going on and we were, the running for runs and stuff like that. And that feels like it was like 5 years ago right now. And
you know what? I didn't do it this season. And guess what? The team looks like shit. So you want to point to the record when I was on the treadmill? Fine. But they won every other game when I was off of it.
Kyle.
That's the one difference, I would say.
Kyle.
It's the same team, just not me walking for a World Series.
Kyle, do you want to be the change you want to see in the world? Do you want to get back on that treadmill now? Because
this year, not for this team.
See, I'm saying.
I can see him getting back on the treadmill. That's like 6'9" in the first.
Yeah. Fuck this, and Kyle maybe that's how you're gonna go off. You'll be on the treadmill, you stop running, and then you just go through a wall and out the building or something like that. Maybe that's how it all goes down there. Yeah, with Lindor at this point too, it's like I don't understand why they can't just plan these things out a little more, unless these babies are all just happy little surprises, right? Because it's like, come on, man. If I was still having kids, I'd be like, let's try not to have the baby during football season because that's always the most busiest time here at Barstool. And I would think it's like you guys are literally have nothing to do between the months of November to beginning of March or something like that. Even March, you could just get out of it. And then April, let's get the kids, family, work separated. I just don't get it anymore. But I don't know, Kyle. Are you honestly like, are you old man yelling at the TV being like, just bat him from the right side for now on?
He comes up And I give him the benefit of the doubt every single time. And I'm like, he's not even doing the bare minimum. He's not doing the little things he needs. Like, he came up bases loaded, less than 2 outs, and he's hitting a ground ball into the ground back to the pitcher for a double play. And I'm like, sir, you need to at least put the ball in the fucking air or strike out. At this point, I'm like, you're better off striking out. You know what I mean? Like, that's how we got to the point with like McCann, where it's like, you are an automatic out in these big situations and you're batting in the heart of our order. And I know you don't want to take like the ego hit of dropping down in the order, but at this point, you're not helping. And like the amount of RBIs that he has hitting in that spot, you'd have to think if you put somebody else there who's having a decent contact year, we'd have more run production than that.
And we've seen the dropping in the lineup work. Like Marte, it worked with, right? He's actually, it feels like he's somewhat of a productive guy. I mean, he was hot for a while there too. I feel like Lindor is another kind of one of those guys. The only thing is, like, I don't trust McNeil like I used to. Like, there's really no one you can just point in this lineup. And I don't know if it has anything to do with the shifts and stuff like that, but there's just so much of this lineup that just does not feel the same as it did just literally last year in the pitch clock. Like, I can't even make excuses for you guys anymore. Like, does McNeil have another kid on the way? I guess I'll throw that for him too.
Right.
Maybe he has another kid on the way. We don't know.
McNeil hitting 275 is one thing, but he's only hitting singles. So it's like the level of production is not where you need it to be. You need to hit doubles and whatever's if you're going to hit 278. Otherwise, you need to hit 320.
Yep.
It needs to level out.
I think they're like towards the bottom of the league in doubles, where like last year they were like a little bit closer to middle of the pack. But if you want a positive stat about the offense, since May 1st, they are 8th in the league in home runs. So we wanted power, and they're 10th overall since start of season. May 1st, it's 8th. Since
they're scoring the runs. They're just not. The proof is in the stats you just put up. They're scoring, they're just not winning.
Now, where do you think they rank in terms of home runs given up in that since May 1st?
Oh, they're definitely like either first or second. If you don't count the A's, they're definitely first.
Yeah, so it's like the stuff that's going out isn't equal to the stuff that's coming in, and that's where you lie with this, just outright, pretty much unwatchable team. Vogelback always seems to come up in a big spot, and like that was the other thing. He hits that home run the other night. You're like, all right, maybe this is when he gets going, and then he just comes up. Even yesterday too, it's like, oh, if he just could have gotten a little more of that, the dead central. Maybe you never know what could happen. You're a dumb baseball fan. You start thinking you go out, get the win, and then you peel off 7 in a row because baseball's a dumb sport that makes no sense sometimes. But I'm just looking at the slugging percentages here. Alonso's 536, Alvarez is 500. Escobar is 411. Like, you're looking at and McNeil 346 slugging. There you go. I mean, that is just that's tough for a guy.
He's not even that great defensively anymore either, which is also hurting us.
Does Lindor?
Lindor's still really good defensively.
Lindor has to get him that fucking car. All right, he has to get him that fucking. I'm gonna again. You guys want some fucking analytics? He has to start improving his lift rate, all this kind of stuff. This is not the show for you. I'm trying to think of ways. His wife is no longer pregnant. Yada, yada, yada.
He cut his hair, too.
He cut his hair. Yep, I saw that. And I was like, all right, this is how we're going to turn it around. He needs to fucking ease his pain. Get Jeff McNeil that goddamn car. Don't make it a piece of shit car. Get it. We're looking at least like a $35,000, $40,000 car. And just do the right thing, Francisco.
He doesn't even have to buy it out of pocket. He could just do a commercial. They'll give him the car.
Yeah.
And then just gift it to McNeil.
I don't get it, man. If that thing's not done by the All-Star break, I feel like we have to start a movement or something here. And because it's like, check all the boxes. The fact that I have to do this on a podcast and Buck isn't doing it in the locker room is kind of a concern, right? Like, you tell me Buck doesn't know about that? Buck definitely. Brad commented about it at some point, when he's always – Buck is so good, too. He's so good at redirecting the media when they ask a pointed question. He'll just have some silly-ass story. That's how Shakira gets brought up. All shucks, and then he all shucks them, and they kind of forget about it. But this team needs accountability right now, and it is definitely not doing it. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Pete Alonso coming back. 0 for 4 yesterday, 3 strikeouts. Do we just have to kind of just eat shit and be prepared for the potential of 1 for 19 stretch, kind of Lindor after he slammed his hand in the door last year, and just be like, he's playing hurt. I wish he wasn't playing hurt, because I do think there is a chance that we could get 70% of his production from the guys that were already playing there. And then, instead of getting 5% of his production, if he plays as bad as we're scared he's going to play. At the same point, though, like the little hidden thing about Saturday, and Keith talked about it in the broadcast, Canada doesn't know to stretch there to get the guy out of first on that double play. And that's when, that gave him the win. having a guy who actually knows what they're doing at first base does help, and you're playing guys in position. We know as Mets fans way too much how dumb it is to play players out of position. That's part of the thing with the Cardinals too. They have guys all over the fucking place. They have guys who have no business being in some of the spots they're in because they're just a very weirdly constructed team. Are we kind of just at the point where it's like, if Pete comes back, it looks like Pete, awesome. If he doesn't, it is what it is at this point, and you kind of have to let Pete prove that he is different because he's come back from a car accident, a ball to the head, all these other injuries where it seemed like he was going to be out months, if not weeks.
I think it'll be, as long as he has his grip strength, that's going to be the biggest thing. Because as long as he gets that whip of the bat, I don't think that it's in a situation where they're going to put him out there if he can't. They have the grip test. So if he's out there, it's got to be healthy enough. They're not going to risk it. I also think there's a little pride thing to him where he's like, I'm not the leader in home runs anymore, and I want to make sure that I get that feather in my cap if the team's going to suck.
I mean, between Lindor not going on paternity leave and Pete just coming out, it was like, 3 to 4 weeks, and he's back in like a week, 10 days the minimum. These guys are feeling the pressure of this upcoming week where you're going to Houston, you're going to Philly, you're already staring up 5.5 out of a playoff spot, 7 back in the Marlins. You got to have a 4-2, 5-1 stretch somewhere to pick up some ground, or at least not lose any.
Yep. And I mean, the All-Star break is less than a month away too, so it's coming. You know what I mean? It's coming, and you have to see where you are at that point, and then you start looking at trade deadline and stuff like that. Again, like having the extra wild cards does make it seem much more accessible to get into the playoffs. But I think, who was it? Was it I don't know if it was Britain or someone else had it where maybe it was Healy. The Mets, I think, were just as close to like the worst record in the league as they were to a playoff spot, 5.5.
Yeah, they're 5.5 ahead of the Nats and 5.5 out of back of the Dodgers, I guess, for the last playoff spot. So,
which, like, you see the Dodgers and you're reading some of the stuff.
I'm not even counting Dodgers. They're 7 back in the Marlins. That's the team that matters.
Yes. I think that's the team. And again, I always feel like the Dodgers are going to go on their runs and stuff. And I've been reading, I'll go on like the MLB Reddit page, and their fans are losing their fucking mind about the way Roberts is managing the bullpen. I mean, Dave Roberts.
We all know the Dodgers are going to go on like a 40-10 run. Yeah. They'll probably make some massive trade at the deadline where Keith Law hypes up their prospects to turn out their shit elsewhere, and then they're just winning 100 games and probably lose another World Series or NLCS.
Yep. Oh, man. I honestly believe, like, there's another universe where the Dodgers have the perfect manager for them who's not Dave Roberts and Don Mattingly and all the guys they've had, and they have, like, 6 World Series. Like, they should. It feels like they should, right? And they have a Mickey Mouse one, which that's what kind of just keeps me at ease these days. It's like, even if when we get this machine running and hopefully when we start, we're not just reaching for 40-year-old, mercenaries to come in and pitch for us. We actually have production in the farm system that either allows us to make the trades or they're coming up and pitching for us. Like it seems like the Dodgers pull a different guy up every other day. There's still a chance it's all just going to fucking blow up in our face because baseball is the stupidest goddamn sport. Are we still at the point, Phil, where the Braves, Nats, and Phillies were under 500 at this point during their runs?
The Phillies were 4 games over at this point last year. I'm pretty sure the Nats in 2019 were over. Although the Braves, remember, they were not above 500 in 2021 until I think it was like August 3rd or something.
Okay, so we still have one of them, but I told you, once like that leaves, that's like, that was my one last safety net where I'm like, all right, it's going to be all right.
Yeah, if you want an ounce of hope, remember when we were laughing at the Phillies and we swept them beginning of the month? We were like, oh, this team, they stink or whatever. The Phillies are, 11-2 in their last 13 since we swept them? Why can't we
it's June, and Schwarber is in June mode. He has 20 home runs.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, why their stars are showing up. They're winning games, getting hot. We could do that too. We're just not going to do it.
Yep.
It's also really frustrating that the Marlins are fucking crushing. 5 games over 500, just swept. Luis Arias is hitting 388 on the season.
Crazy.
I don't think they're that good of a team, but like they're just gonna keep winning. That's really it.
It's baseball. You just have to be efficient, and we're not fucking efficient.
And Sandy hasn't even done anything for them yet this year. Like they're doing this with their Cy Young having ERA of 5. Because when we have our Cy Youngs with ERAs near 5, their guys step up. Our guys don't.
Yeah. Well, this is the time they step up. Our guys have to step up. This team is weird where they usually step up against the good teams, and it's like the bad or kind of meh teams where they just completely shit the bed. at Houston, starting tonight, Monday, June 9th. We got Scherzer versus Brown. Tomorrow, June 20th, Justin Verlander with Flamber Valdez. We're going to be having a watch party. This is like all hands on deck, the last stand, whatever other kind of, marketing you want to have to believe it's going to be all right. We're going to have our watch party. It's going to be at the Liberty in New York City, 29 West 35th Street. First pitch, 8:10. We got the boys are going to be there. We'll be throwing back some ice cold Coors Lights. And like, hey, maybe this is like Justin Verlander's like, fuck this. This is my old team. He cannot be. Did he have a offer from the Astros before he came to us? Do we know?
No, I think it was the Dodgers, but we could say he did.
Yeah, let's say he did. And now he's going to be like, I'm going to shove it up their asses here. I'm going to go out, perform, and get the Mets back on track. And then, hey, it went 2 out of 3, or hey, let's get crazy. Sweep Philadelphia, sweep Houston. And then you have Philly, which is just somehow still a team that we can beat up. We're still the bullies to them. That Friday game on Apple TV is tough. It just feels like a complete momentum stopper.
Also, if this team was really good, I would consider going to Philly to avoid watching it on Apple TV. But at this point, like, I really don't care enough.
I feel like Mets fans are just going to fight each other if they go to Philly, right?
Yeah.
It's a civil war inside the fan base and out. Phillies fans will probably get to throw a few punches in just because that's what they do. But again, Scherzer, Verlander, and McGill, who
he did good.
He looked good, man. And it's like he does that sometimes, but then he also, gives you 3 innings, 6 earnings. You're just like, what the fuck
credited Jeremy Hefner. They're fixing his mechanics in June. I don't know why he didn't do that earlier in the year, but
so maybe
we'll see how it does versus Houston.
Are we too early to be firing Hefner then? Like, we have to fire somebody.
I don't know. Well, I mean, when I talked to Frank the other day, he was rattling off 99 when they fired their coaches after losing to the Yankees, and then they went like on a 70-38 run. So
did they fire? Was that when they fired Bob Apodaca?
He rattled off like they fired pretty much everyone but Bobby Valentine.
I remember that was ugly. Yeah, I remember it being an ugly.
But they won like on a 700 clip the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I mean at this point, and I don't think there's a lot of guys here who are here for the long term. I think this first stage of the Cohen era is going to be setting it up, getting it going, and then like I said with Thibodeau, I think there probably will be another guy. And again, there's no better manager to fire and then hope the next guy wins the World Series than Buck Showalter, unfortunately. And I don't wish any ill will on our boy Buck.
What percentage do you put it at that you think he'll be fired this season?
Mid-season, absolutely 0.
Yeah, that's what I say too. Yeah, I think he gets a third year. I think anyone who's screaming from the mountaintops that this needs to happen, it's like you have to realize they won 101 games last year and he won Manager of the Year. They're not going to turn around the following season and fire him before the All-Star break.
And then if you do that, good luck hiring the next guy because you already saw how hard it was to hire a GM. Like, what manager would want to come in and be like, okay, if I suck, I'll probably be fired by June and the fans will hate me. Like,
right. It's not going to be a Steinbrenner situation where he's firing Billy Martin like 6 times over.
That's what I was going to say. I do think Steve probably is a little cognizant of saying, I don't want to portray as a Steinbrenner guy who fires the reigning manager of the year because, we didn't have a great – now, if we're on pace to win like 62 games because everything really just fell apart, maybe there's a case. But I think we can all agree that.
Look, if we go on a 14-game losing streak and Buck Showalter has a mohawk to hype up his guys, doesn't get seen, a la Joe Madden last year, yes, he'll get fired. But that's probably the only way.
I think Epler might be on the hot seat because he wasn't the first choice; he was the third choice. But
there's all the David Stearns rumors as it is, so that wouldn't shock me either way.
And honestly, I think if they do keep him around, it's just to try to entice Shohei Otani to come here.
And then if they don't get him, it'll be like, you didn't get a Shohei? You can go with them. We don't care.
He's like Windhorse with LeBron, where it's like, oh, you get to keep your job because you're connected to the one guy that matters in the entire league. Because Shohei right now is hitting 300 with 24 home runs. Like, yeah, you could have your job if you can guarantee that guy comes here. And if you can't get it done, then we'll fire you.
Yeah, just off topic, I just want to ask you guys a question. Do you think Shohei Otani, as of right now, is a Hall of Famer?
If he retired today?
If he retired today?
He'd be like the consolation, like, oh, this was really cool. This was a novelty thing that he did.
How many more like Shohei years, like regular Shohei years, till you say he's a Hall of Famer?
How many years has he been in the league?
Since 2018, and he has 1 MVP, probably has 2 this year.
It's like the Terrell Davis kind of thing, except he didn't win any championships in terms of a short career.
He's
I would
close.
say he needs 5 more.
Those early
You
years
need
with
10 years in the
Otani
league just
left
to
you
be
wanting
eligible.
more.
That's what I mean. Like, let's say he wins MVP this year, has a normal Shohei year next year, wins MVP. That's 3 MVPs. It's hard to keep a guy out the Hall of Fame if you do that.
He needs 5 more years of like being Shohei Otani. Because if he falls off, then it's like you literally need 10 years just to be eligible.
Yeah, that's
a decent question to pose. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll win the MVP for us next year.
Anytime we're not talking about the New York Mets on this New York Mets podcast, it actually makes me happy, Phil. So I do thank you for bringing that question up. It's a great question.
I tweeted out Shohei's stats yesterday on the main account, and it did good. And people got mad.
How many years?
What's up?
How many years? 3?
What for? What? Wait, what's the question?
For him to be in the Hall of Fame.
He's played 16. He's played 4 more, I think, because 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So yeah.
But you're saying he needs to be that level of good, or he's already in? He's just
I think if he has a normal Shohei year next year and just like has some injury played years the following 3 and retires, I think he's a Hall of Famer.
I mean, yeah, like you said, Kyle, the reason Pete Alonso doesn't lead baseball in home runs right now is because Shohei Otani leads.
And he also leads the league in like strikeouts as a pitcher. So
yeah,
I'm at the point now where I'm like, we got to sign Otani so then he can put some fucking balance to this rotation. I don't care about the batter.
People want a DH. Go get Shohei Otani and his 20-something home runs. Like, if we're talking about players that can make this team better, Shohei Otani's literally the only one.
Yep. And for the record, that 2020 year is very weird though too, because I see he started 2 games pitching.
Because he had Tommy John. That's why.
Yeah, that was when he had Tommy John, right? Yeah. So, but I mean, his numbers: career 3.02 ERA, 108 WHIP, 34-16 record, and I mean, he's a freak of nature. He's a freak of fucking nature.
He's a $500 million player. That's the only thing where it's like, if he's going to get $500 million, and like, I'm not saying he's not worth it because he's playing 2 things. He's doing 2 things. So it's a kind of a discount. I just don't know if that hamstrings the rest of the team and like allows us to be competitive, because the Angels sure as shit aren't. And they have Trout and him, and we got to pay other people.
I'll tell you this. If we had Shohei Otani right now, people would be begging for him to play right field so we can get Mark Vientos some at-bats.
Yep, that's where we are as a franchise right now. Good times, baby.
I want
Good
Juan
times.
Soto too. I'm on the record. I'm glad that Juan's having some shitty years with the Padres, because we might get a little bit of a discount.
So, I mean, we've talked about this a bunch in the past, usually in like brighter times where we're just like, all right, and now once, a couple years when Canada's gone, we're going to be able to have Soto and or Otani. If you had a choice, Soto, obviously less money than Otani because he does one thing really awesome instead of 2, and even that one thing isn't as great as it has been. Who do you choose, Soto or Otani?
I mean, if our pitching keeps on sucking, I might just lean Otani. That's really it. Like,
yeah, I would just take him as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm at the point too where it's like, pay Otani whatever he wants and be like, we're worried about the pitching side of things. If you can hit, awesome too. But let's focus, because I feel like a lot of people have been saying he probably wants to settle into being the hitter side of things, even though it's every single day. It's a lot more, So.
He also has never made a start on more than all of his starts are on 6 days rest.
Or he's fit in perfect then.
Yeah.
So if we have him and Senga, we have to basically have a 6-man rotation at that point, right?
But you take a 6-man rotation if he's hitting like 40 home runs on the side.
Oh, listen, it's not.
If we have him and Senga, then I think we're going to get 99% of Japan watching every single game, according to Phil Stats.
Yep.
And I am not speaking ill of the 6-man rotation. We basically have a 6-man rotation, and like Nagasaki was like one of the 6 men because he'd be into the 3rd inning every fucking game. Like, what's the difference whether he's if you don't have a guy going to the 5th inning, like your rotation you're almost having an opener, right? So
people are like, oh, thank God Quintana's coming back. I'm like, I forgot he was even on the team.
I'll say this, Quintana, maybe he can't be worse than we're throwing out, or maybe he can. We don't know. Maybe he's Jason Vargas 2.0.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because Carrasco is just like, even though I saw his ERA the last few games, he had like a 3.22 ERA. But Kev said about it, he's like, I feel like that just meant he was due, and it came yesterday, right? It blew up in our face. But he's had a couple of those games, 6 2/3 against the Cubbies, 6 innings, 1 earned.
Well, I put it out the stats yesterday. I mean, Max had 3 quality starts in a row, like one random stretch. That was his only back-to-back stretch. Cookie had his back-to-back starts, quality starts last month. Verlander hasn't done it. Senga hasn't done it. Miguel hasn't done it. If you can get consistent, I'm asking for consistency here. Give me 1 10-game stretch where we have 7 or 8 quality starts, and I'll start buying in.
it's not, 6 innings, 3 earned. That's a 4.5 ERA. That's not even, out of the fucking.
A 4.5 ERA would be like second on a team right now.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
How was it to see the game through the kids' eyes? Did you have a nice Father's Day at the ballpark anyway?
It was nice. It was fun. The kids loved it. It was 2-0, obviously, before the Mets even got to bat, which was like, fuck. But Lindor hits that home run in the first inning, and I wanted it as much for Kevin's kids. I was like, because I said it when I took AJ to a game last year. With the first time he saw that apple come up was the minute, I tell you, that was the minute he became a Mets fan. From that point on, he's always said he's a Mets fan. He bought an apple pillow that night. The crowd's going crazy. And Kev happened to catch Keegan watching the game. He was eating popcorn funny, so he was videotaping him. Lindor hits the bomb, so he gets to see his first home run in person. He has it on tape, and it's incredible.
That's awesome.
And then yesterday's game was actually incredible, other than obviously, the last inning and they lose the game, but it was like back and forth, a lot of runs, a lot of like fun shit. So it was very cool through the kids' eyes. I do feel like we're all talking it through with our family members and our friends. Like, I remember a couple of years ago being like, I don't know if I want to raise them as baseball fans, because if I do, they'll probably become Yankees fans if the Wilpons are still around, and then the off chance they become like a Phillies fan, which I don't know why I was thinking that. I don't even care if they became Red Sox fans, but I do think Yankee fans is a very realistic thing. If you have kids in New York that you raise as baseball fans and you're like, don't follow the path your dumb idiot dad went down. And I couldn't have a Yankee fan kids. It would just be too tough. So it was very cool to see it through the kids' eyes. But at the same point, like, they're also like years away from actually knowing or caring what's going on. So it's like, that's
the fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they see an 8-7 game where they're like, darn, we'll get him next time. We see an 8-7 game, it's like, well, we've seen this like
I got popcorn, I got cotton candy, I got a souvenir, I'm set. I don't care what happens with the game. It's just a cool day with my dad. That's always like, that's the thing that we don't like. We're so in it that you can't like pull back and be like, it's still like fun to have this experience. That's why we're so crazy as fans. It's because you have like all these memories and like familial ties to all this other stuff. That's nice. At least you got a good day at the ballpark.
Yeah. Yep. That is it. And it was kids just making a mess, going crazy, running around, but it was cool. And AJ was like, and now we're going to the gift store, right? So 7th inning, we go down to the gift store. And on the way home, this was shocking. He goes, Dad, I want to go to the baseball game where they sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And I'm like, oh, shit, we were in the gift store for that. So the fact, like, it's already made enough of an imprint on him where he remembers stuff like that is cool. And he bought a polar bear. It's a, polar bear about this big, not very big at all, with a Pete Alonso jersey in the back. Sienna got a pillow, like this nice velvety pillow, $45 a pop. Like, just take my money, you sons of bitches, So, but again, that's the money. You're doing whatever you can to bribe them, whether it's food, souvenirs. They ran the bases afterward, which was awesome. Shout out Phil's mom's would have told me that they brought it back. So if you're going to bring the kids, or you're looking to trick them into becoming Mets fans so they can be miserable like us, they used to have it every Sunday back in the day. Now it's like 1 or 2 Sundays a month you can get there. Usually
they have it on the website. You can check the schedule; it'll pop up.
Yeah, so you can usually check that out. City Card member, I think, helps you maybe even cut the line a little bit and stuff like that. So check that out. But most importantly, we're in this together. This is a little bit of a therapy session. Tuesday night, come out. We're going to, hopefully not, want to be jumping off the roof. We're going to Liberty in New York City. I know people want it on nights other than Tuesdays. They want it in places other than Manhattan. We're just trying to get a win right now. So, but I promise you guys, we will work on this. We have a tailgate coming July 15th. We're still working on all the specifics in terms of where and how it'll be there, but it'll be before the Dodgers game, which, as I say that out loud, it's like Dodgers, Astros, what are we doing to ourselves? We made plans as a 2022 juggernaut, and this 2023 team ain't that. But you know what? Despite all that, gotta believe.
Gotta believe.